Hello, this is Pastor Sarah again. I am back with Minnie, but before I showed her to you, if you've been following along, you know that I have been waiting for a while now for her to get a top because she got 2 skirts and then we haven't had any top, and we've gotten a whole plethora, which means a lot, of accessories, and today was no different. She got another accessory and I got impatient, so I made Minnie a top. Okay. It's made out of tissue paper that of course is embedded with glitter because that's the only tissue paper I stock. She's still sporting her cup because it matches her new handbag that matches her old shoes. So she's looking kind of fresh today. Kind of digging it. So anyway, we'll see if we can ever get Minnie a top. All right, let's see what story we have today from our giant advent calendar. Unfortunately, I can't pick it up that far for you to see in the screen, but I am reading number 11 because today we are getting closer to halfway there. Oh, this is a retro story. We're going to be reading about Pinocchio, the perfect gift. And if you remember the story of Pinocchio, this was a wooden puppet that looked like a boy who became a real boy. So let's read our story. Christmas was just a few days away. Geppetto, the old wood carver, was busy in his workshop, making toy soldiers and pretty dolls for boys and girls in the village. There seemed to be more toys than usual to carve and paint this year. I hope I get all the toy soldiers made in time, he thought, working as quickly as he could. Geppetto's son, Pinocchio, wanted to help his father. He knew that Geppetto worked harder during the Christmas season than any other time of year. Yeah, there's Geppetto. Like he's making the toy soldiers, and here's a doll. So yeah, a lot of toys get made and given at Christmas time, right? While Geppetto worked day and night with his carving knife and paintbrushes, Pinocchio had other ideas. He couldn't make toys, but he could make their home ready for Christmas. He asked his friend, Jiminy Cricket, to help him decorate the house. They put up the tree and strung popcorn on its branches. They even hung prickly garlands of holly, all to surprise his dad. This would be Pinocchio's first Christmas as a real boy, so he wanted it to be special. Jiminy, Pinocchio said, I want to find the perfect gift for Geppetto. He should have something special. Will you help me? Jiminy said. Well, if you ask me. So here is Jiminy on the tree. He's a cricket. And here's Pinocchio. And Pinocchio wants to find the right gift for his dad. Maybe he would like a new knife to carve with, Pinocchio suggested, though he worried he might not have enough money for that. What about some warm gloves? He could use them when he goes out on cold nights to deliver his toys. You know, Pinocchio, I wonder if a better gift would be, Jiminy began. Socks, Pinocchio cried, or a new hat. Come on, Jiminy, let's go to the shops and see what we can find. Pinocchio hurried out the door. Jiminy had to run to keep up. In the shops, Pinocchio looked at socks, hats, gloves, scarves, and even a warm woolen coat. Everything was too small, too expensive, or too ordinary, which means regular. Pinocchio wanted to find something special. Pinocchio wants a special gift. So here he is looking at socks with Jiminy. Kind of digging Pinocchio's little fur boots. Do you see these? How cute are those? By Christmas Eve, Pinocchio still hadn't found the perfect gift for Geppetto. He couldn't help feeling sad. What am I going to do? Pinocchio asked Jiminy. Well, I do have this idea, the cricket said. Really? Pinocchio asked. Please, tell me. Jiminy sat him at the table and handed him a quill pen. You want to give your father something he really needs? I sure do, Pinocchio beamed. Write this, Jiminy said. Dear Geppetto, my gift to you is an extra pair of hands and an extra willing heart. Love, Pinocchio. So Jiminy wants him to write a nice letter. See, there's an inkwell, and this is a quill pen. It's made out of a feather. It's been kind of cut down here so you can dip it in the ink and write. That's the way people used to write. Now we have different pens and different markers and pencils to write with, but this is how they used to do it back long ago. When Pinocchio finished writing, he looked up at Jiminy. Now what? Now you put that note in here. Jiminy held out a box. Pinocchio dropped the note in. Then Jiminy wrapped the package with bright paper and a big bow. Geppetto will be very happy with this gift, Jiminy said. But it's just a scrap of paper, Pinocchio said. What sort of gift is that? Jiminy smiled. You might be surprised. So there it is. It's inside the box, and then Jiminy's wrapped it. He did a good job wrapping, by the way. Really good job. After Christmas Eve dinner together, Pinocchio presented Geppetto with his gift. I hope you like it, said Pinocchio. Geppetto untied the bow and tore the wrapping paper away. Why, this is the perfect present, he cried. I could use an extra pair of hands in my workshop. How did you know, Pinocchio? Pinocchio smiled. Jiminy had been right. He was surprised at how much joy his simple gift brought his father. I'm glad to help, Pinocchio said. I can start right now if you want. Pinocchio went to Geppetto's workshop. He swept up the wood shavings, boxed and wrapped the new toys. He made labels for each box so that Geppetto would know which child each gift was for. The two of them made the perfect team. So Geppetto got his present opened and read the note. When Geppetto set out to deliver the last of the gifts, Pinocchio went up to bed. He was tired after helping his father all night. As he drifted off to sleep, he promised himself that he would help out more often. That night, the blue fairy appeared. Because you have been so thoughtful this year, I have come to grant you one very special Christmas wish, she said. Pinocchio thought about the many wishes he could ask for, but he still only wanted one thing. I want to give Geppetto the perfect Christmas gift, he told the blue fairy, something he will love forever. The blue fairy smiled. She knew just what the perfect present would be. You are a very kind and loving boy, Pinocchio, she said. I'm sure Geppetto will treasure this gift for years to come. So the fairy showed up. So you can kind of see her wings back here. And she's talking to Pinocchio. The next morning, Geppetto wanted to surprise his son. It was his greatest wish to make Pinocchio's first Christmas special. Geppetto went to place his gifts for Pinocchio under the tree, and when he looked at the tree, he gasped. A wooden puppet hung from the branches. It wore a pair of red dungarees and a red feather in its cap. It looked just like his son. My dear Pinocchio, Geppetto said with a smile. It looked just like the puppet he had made a long time ago. He thought back to the lonely night when he had made a wish on a wishing star. He had hoped that the puppet that he was making would turn into a real boy, a boy he could love. The blue fairy had granted his wish, and Pinocchio, the wooden puppet, had turned warm and loving. He'd become Geppetto's son. So there's the puppet hanging in the tree. That looks just like Pinocchio did before he became a real boy. When Pinocchio heard his father moving about, he and Jiminy ran downstairs as fast as they could. Merry Christmas, they cried. Geppetto sat in his favorite chair, holding the puppet. My gift. How did you make it? Pinocchio stared at the copy of the puppet. He'd been just like that once. He smiled. The blue fairy had chosen the perfect present for his father. Puppet Pinocchio was my favorite creation, Geppetto said. Oh, how I've missed him. There's Pinocchio, the boy he's come down with Jiminy to see on Christmas morning. Pinocchio felt a frown appear on his face. You have? He asked. Have I disappointed you? Geppetto laughed. Not at all, son. You've been perfect in every way. This toy reminds me of how very much I wanted a real son. He reminds me of how happy I am to have you. Pinocchio smiled as relief flooded his body. He went over to the puppet and looked at it closely. It was like looking into a mirror. The puppet had the same dark hair and the blue eyes that he did. Look at him looking. Uh-oh, the puppet nose poked his nose. He's looking at the puppet. Geppetto started dancing with the puppet and singing. Geppetto looked at his son and said, No one has ever thought to give me a toy of my own to play with before. You understand how much I love toys, Pinocchio. Thank you. Pinocchio went over and danced beside the puppet that looked so much like him. Geppetto held out the strings for Pinocchio so that he could try to make the puppet dance for himself. It was difficult because the puppet was the same size as Pinocchio. but he didn't care. He was happy to share this moment with his father. So here's Geppetto dancing with the puppet. Marionettes are the ones that have the sticks on top, and it's kind of fun because you can make them look like they're moving all on their own. A little later, Pinocchio opened the gifts that Geppetto placed under the tree for him. But the best present that he'd received had come from the Blue Fairy. He would never forget the smile that lit up his father's face. He hoped that they would share many more happy Christmases together. So there they are, sharing their Christmas gifts. And that's the end of the story. So this story reminds us that sometimes the best thing we can get is knowing that we have shown love to another person. And we practice that first with our families and then our friends. And once we've done that a few times, then we're learning to give kindness and love to others that we don't think of yet as our family and our friends. But God tells us that everyone, every person, no matter how young or how old, is our family. We are all part of God's family, whether we recognize it or not. And so it is important that we show love and kindness. And it makes us feel good. God created us with hearts that warm and feel blessed when we help other people, when we show them love and care and concern. And that is one of the greatest gifts that God has given to us, next to Jesus, that we're getting ready to celebrate on Christmas. And so I hope this story reminds you that one of the great things that Pinocchio did was actually just to take time to write a note. Or if you can't write, you can draw a picture and share it with someone to let them know how much they mean to you, how special, and that you're willing to help them when they need help, like Pinocchio was willing to help in the toy shop, and that you just want them to know that they have a special place in your heart, because all of us have a very special place in God's. And that's a good story. I haven't thought about Pinocchio in a while. So hopefully you enjoyed this one, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Have a great day, everybody.